So the power of self-talk. Life is about the story you tell yourself, and whatever we do every day is just to confirm it. So again, look at your daily activities, look what you're doing, and then ask yourself, what are you expecting from that? Because there's this concept of back pay. If you plant seeds, all you could do is plant seeds. You could do your daily activities, you could plant your seeds, and then later, when you see that grass, that's some seeds that you're planted. So just remember, what are you doing today? Is it compounding every day that's building that future? Or is it that negative self-talk that's consistently degrading you and eating you up from inside out? So just remember, just look at your daily activities and it will give you a real answer to where you're at. Because the moment you change those activities, you're going to see how your life changes. Why do we feel not so great about ourselves at times? Because these things which I always talk about, we're going to address. And I do this multiple times because I want to make sure we understand that the stories we tell ourselves are from our past. Now, where attention goes, energy flows. And where focus grows, success shows. Sounds simple, right? Well, let's talk about these gremlins, the inner critic. You know, we're too busy judging ourselves. We're saying stuff like, I'm not smart enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not experienced enough. I'm not valuable. I'm not deserving. I'm not perfect. I'm not lovable. Okay, if you're going to feel these ways, totally understand, because it's based on something you probably interacted with in the past. But when you think about this stuff, yeah, growing up, when we're younger, a parent might have said you're not good enough at something, so as we grow up, we don't feel we're good enough, we don't feel we're lovable, all these things, no problem. But whose responsibility is it now to get ourselves out of this cobweb? Before, we had no control, but who's going to do it for us if we don't do it, if we don't start seeing things in our light? So you have to ask yourself questions. Where did this idea come from? Why do I feel this way about myself? You got to look in the mirror. How true is this? And does it still apply? If you consistently ask these questions to yourself, you're going to realize it's a story you made up. The best way I could sum it up is, I remember in math class, you could write down the number, the answer to an equation, you could give to the teacher. The teacher doesn't want to see the answer. They want to see the work that you produce to get that answer. It's very simple. So when you have an idea about yourself, I'm not good enough, try in your mind to produce the work. Try to look in your life and say, hey, why am I not good enough? You find you have nothing concrete. It's just a concept that you keep holding on to. So just remember, we're always focused and pointing the fingers out there and how this person's treating us. How are you treating yourself? So it's important to dive into this stuff and understand. And just by being aware of it, it allows you to kind of see, ooh, what's going on? Why my life been this way? And it's clear because we're all telling ourselves some kind of stories. Assumptions. We assume that history will repeat itself. You had 6 bad deals, and all of a sudden another deal's coming in, and you think, oh, it's going to be another bad deal. This stuff is independently exclusive. What happened yesterday has no bearing on today unless you let it. So the reason why that 7th deal is not going to be good is because we're already made up our mind and we're not having that winning attitude, and we're saying, look, it's going to be crap, so how are we going to show up? Right? I said a finance deal comes in, 84-month financing, you have a smile on your face, maybe an extra step. But that cash deal comes in. Which one, just by looking at my body language, you could tell which one's going to be better. So just remember, yesterday is an opportunity for growth. It's an opportunity for you to know where you're at, but you can't use it as you can, but you don't want to use it to build you down. You want to use it to build you up. So just remember that. Just because it happened in the past, why should it happen again? And the reason why sometimes we're getting these repetitive issues in our life or these things that don't work for us is because there's a lesson to be learned. And if you don't learn the lesson, you're going to see it show up in different areas. But once you learn that lesson, you increase your consciousness, you're going to find out you're not seeing that problem anymore. Life doesn't give problems or challenges. It's only opportunities, and it's up to you to see them because no one else is going to see them for you. Interpretations. The story that we create in our mind and we believe it to be true, could you believe we will look at a situation over there and with our one experience, we're going to diagnose it and we're going to know the answer? We're going to think of tomorrow and we're going to draw some kind of conclusion based on what we know today. Well, guess what? What we know today is just based on our past. We're 1 out of 7 billion of people. We don't know nothing when you consider the whole. Now, what do I mean by this? When we make up corrupt stories of the future, we're saying this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, and this is going to happen. Look at all these nodes we're connected. You know why none of these conclusions come to fruition? Because one of those nodes don't click, and then the whole story is off balance. Now, with our one life experience, there's billions of people, there's trillions of ideas, but we tend to lock onto one path based on how we feel about ourselves, and we create these stories. That's why they never show up. Before we started the job, we're telling ourselves, I don't know, maybe I could do the finance. But then you step into the job and you do your activities, I could do it. So again, stop telling yourself stories unless you're telling yourself stories of glory and how you're going to use your strength to grow. So very important, because one of the assignments we're going to do is creating our own self-image. And to do that first, we got to be understanding of this stuff. We have to make sure that we're aware of this stuff. So whenever you come up with a scenario, ask yourself, what's another way to look at that? You automatically see a variety of different angles. What might be a completely opposite view of what I think? It's very simple. Name 5 other possible interpretations, and what would someone else say? Someone else who you respect. Why is this very important? Because at the end of the day, you have to understand that when you draw a conclusion, you're creating that story in your mind, and often that story is going to make you take that emotional value down today. So you want to make sure you're telling yourself those good stories, so in the present moment, you're not sad, you're not feeling depleted. And limiting beliefs, anything we believe to be true, that limits us. You know, I mean, hey, I was an MC. Oh, my thought was, man, I need prep. I'm not prepared enough. I'm not ready enough. Well, I ended up doing it. It was great, right? So stop telling yourself these stories. The universe will not give you something you're not ready for. Just look in your life, okay? It's just for you to develop and gain skills. Okay. When you have a limiting belief, here's some few questions you could ask yourself. How true is that belief? Where did it come from? How is it affecting me daily? And you're going to be able to see how you're going to, just by being aware of it, you're going to be able to at least acknowledge it. And by acknowledging it, you could see it from a different light and you can remove it. So it takes time, takes practice. Grass is greener where you water it, but you first have to be aware of it.